Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild with me, your buddy, Paladino Joey? It is Monday, December the 12th, 2011. This is episode number 51 of Brave the Wild, which is available on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes. I thank each and every one of you for joining us, as always. Do appreciate it also very much. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Paladino, whatever you want to call me. Joey Awajan, of course, is my full real name. Great to be back. It's been a while for Brave the Wild, and I do apologize. I mean, this is the kind of season you probably want to get some Brave the Wild shows available. Yeah, and I apologize for that. The busy schedule and lawn cleanups in November and all that. But, well, ladies and gentlemen, to put it simple, we have the best team in the National Hockey League. That's right. That's something we can never really say as North Star fans. For all those years, the 26 years the North Stars were here, and for the last 10 years the Wild were here, you couldn't really come up to the microphone or in front of the television camera and just flat out say, we have the best team in the league. Well, right now, I don't know necessarily how they're doing it, but the Wild are the best team in the National Hockey League, folks. The best. And it is remarkable. It is remarkable. I mean, we're going to talk about the best team in the NHL today. Of course, December the 12th is mentioned. I mean, this is a very happy time for Minnesota Wild fans and hockey fans in this state. Not only are the Minnesota Wild clearing away the number one team in the NHL right now with 43 points. The number 2 team is Philadelphia with 39. Actually, now Chicago with 40. Minnesota atop the Western Conference in the whole league, and they've been atop the league for, about 2 weeks now, 2-3 weeks. They had a little miniature dive there with a couple of losses. Get to that here in a second, but this has just been a remarkable season. It has been so fun, and I can't even put into words how much I've enjoyed this. So far, the Wild perfect in December. What are we, 5-0? We've won 7 games in a row. We've had multiple long sustained winning streaks. We're winning on the road. We're doing it all this year, and it's unbelievable. Really, the most frustrating. Well, there's two game losses that occurred. Two game losing streaks that occurred in November. Other than that, it was flat out wins. That's all it was. Wins. You had San Jose and LA. California Curse. That's right, the California Curse. Even this season, Wild losing Thursday, November the 10th, and November the 12th on Saturday. 2-5 to LA. That was the low point of the season, you could argue. Losing 5-2 in Edmonton was a pretty low point as well on Friday. It came to a screeching halt. Our 13-game win streak against Edmonton. Yeah, that was a home game too. Wild never lose to Edmonton at home. Well, they did that day, and it came to a screeching halt. Nicholas Backstrom not in goal in that particular night either. Backstrom has been perfect against Edmonton at home. And then the Wild lose 5-2 again in Calgary, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. But since then, it's been nothing but wins. You got Tampa Bay and Edmonton, games like that. Wild got revenge against Edmonton in Edmonton. That was an epic game. Able to catch that. That was a lot of fun. I was able to catch that coming home. That's what I kind of like about the Northwest division, which is going to be no more eventually. We're going to get into a little bit about the realignment. I mean, it's going to be the Wild in general today. Mike Yeo, of course, we're going to talk about him. I'm going to have a lot to say about Mike Yeo today, who has just been remarkable for this club. This has been a remarkable season. There's nothing you can say about it. I mean, the Wild are right now 27. There's nothing more you can say. 27-3. 27-3, folks. Unbelievable. Not 27-3. Not 27 wins. 20 wins, 7 losses, and 3 overtime or shootout, whatever, losses. Yeah, whatever. It's just too many numbers, right? But we'll take it. The goalies have been good. I mean, the goalies under this new coach, Mike Yeo, have just been unbelievable. The Todd Richards' first season, the goaltending took a swan dive. It's like, what's up with Nicholas Backstrom? Josh Harding is below average. What the heck is up with him? Yeah, Josh Harding came back from injuries and such that year, was hurt off and on, and was pretty lame most of the time that Harding was playing. So he had a couple of good games. He finally beat Detroit in one of those games. I remember that year. Finally beat Detroit after losing 1-0 every time we played Detroit. And Josh Harding was in net every single time the Wild played Detroit with 3 different coaches, ladies and gentlemen. But the Wild, under Mike Yeo, Josh Harding has been insane. Nicholas Backstrom has been insane. And that's right, Matt Hackett has been insane in the 2 little games he's played. He's been crazy good. The Wild goaltending, goals against average is 2.04 as a team. Nicholas Backstrom, 2.09. Harding, 2.14. And Hackett, in, like a game and a half, you could say 1.01. Woo! This has been a ridiculous season. I'm sorry if it sounds like if I sound like a broken record, but I'm just blown away with how things have gone this year. And we've had injuries to key players like Marek Zidlicki, Guillaume Latendresse, who's been out with a concussion. He's only played 14 games so far this year. Scandella missed about 4 games, unfortunately, along the way. It's Cody Allman had his usual training camp injuries coming in, but he's playing now. He's actually on the Wild right now because of these injuries to some of the key forwards on this club. Devin Setaguchi of late has been injured. Statistically, you can't really say Devin Setaguchi has been spectacular, but he's been all right. So now, briefly, I'm going to talk to him as long as I'm going to talk about him. Mike Yeo. Mike Yeo, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Yeo is gold. Gold, ladies and gentlemen. This coach is gold. There are so many reasons why. No matter what he does, whatever buttons he pushes, it seems to be the right buttons every single time. It's unexplained just how good Mike Yeo is, how good his message has been to this team. You take Devin Setaguchi off the first line, send him down to the second line. He plays dramatically better. And the second line was leading the team in scoring for the time being. You bring Latendresse up to the first line at one point. He was pretty darn good. His play actually got even better. The first line would send a message at times, like get better, and they got better. Guys like Danny Healy and Mikko Koivu have gotten dramatically better over the past few weeks. Pierre-Marc Bouchard is having a huge season for somebody, that we didn't really see for about 2 years there. He has 18 points in 28 games. His passing is as ridiculous as ever. Koivu, though, has been called out by a lot of people, like saying, this guy's not a franchise player, including myself. But, hey, admittedly, he has stepped it up remarkably of late. I still don't necessarily say he's a franchise player, but he's a franchise piece, as is Danny Heatley. Like, Heatley's not looking like a franchise player, really. But his goal scoring has gone up. It had been pretty much non-existent for the longest time, but now he's starting to show signs here. He's a franchise piece as well. Kyle Brodziak having the year of his life. Articles written about him, about how on fire he is, and then he gets even more on fire after that. Jared Spurgeon playing out of his mind. He's leading the defenseman in scoring with 13 points in 30 games. He's on pace for a 30-plus point season. Jared Spurgeon, folks. Jared Spurgeon, huge. Matt Cullen was big early. Kyle Brodziak and Matt Cullen with identical type of seasons this year. Thus far, those guys are playing off the charts. Koivu, Cullen, and Broziak, 3 centers that are playing awesome hockey. It has been a lot of fun. You get a guy like Nick Johnson on this roster. Like, who the hell is Nick Johnson? Who the hell is he, right? The Wild bring him in. He played 5 games with the Pittsburgh Penguins in about a 3-year span. He was a first-round pick, a high first-round pick that just didn't seem to pan out. Look at him now. Well, he's not kicking butt necessarily, but he's got 12 points in 26 games. He is a factor, believe it or not, on this team. 3rd or 4th line guy, but hey, he's been a factor the whole time. Scandella, I mean, everybody that talks about Marco Scandella is just like, wow. Everybody that talks about him, it's like he's kind of like, they talk about him like he could be a franchise defenseman in the next year or two. And, hey, who am I to disagree? I mean, I see a lot of the same things from him. It has been awesome what we're seeing out of Marco Scandella thus far this season. I mean, everybody in general is playing well. You bring up Casey Wellman to replace Devin Setaguchi. I keep calling him Gucci instead of Devin Setaguchi. And he was huge. He hit like a pretty much a point every game. Right now he has 4 points in 6 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. Just 6 games. Casey Wellman out of California is a factor. You had Nate Prosser, who unfortunately had to be sent down. He was called up for Greg Zannon's injury. Guys like that, maybe Justin Falk not playing up to what they necessarily want, but they still love him in general. But yeah, Nate Prosser out of Elk River. Undrafted guy. Huge factor defensively. Also providing some assists, some power play points. Nate Prosser, huge factor to this team. And unfortunately, they had to send him down because he was the most flexible player of the defensemen. You don't want to move Greg Zannon right now. He's a valuable veteran, despite the fact you might think he's inferior to a guy like Nate Prosser. And you couldn't really, you had absolutely no reason to even think about sending down Jared Spurgeon. It's playing out of his mind. Guys like that. Falk, he was out of send downs, I believe, or whatever the word is. Clayton Stoner is as well. You don't want to do that. Clayton Stoner, I believe, is on a one-way contract right now, so you can't send him down without waiving him. So they did not waive him wisely. Obviously, Clayton Stoner, I think, still a major factor for this club, though he only has 1 point so far in 23 games. But still, I don't think it's time to send him down. Then you have Mike Lundin, who's finally on the roster. He's played 7 games thus far. Finally healthy. Mike Lundin, healthy enough to play, we'll say. It's like, yeah, you don't want to say there's like spectacular defensemen, though Marcus Scandella and Jared Spurgeon are beginning to make you wonder, do we? Those guys have been fantastic. But at the same time, it's like there's so many good defensemen on this team all of a sudden because of the right moves and draft picks and all that stuff. You start to wonder, oh, well, who does get sent down? Shoot, like, what are we going to do now? It's one of those good problems to have. Like, you have enough good defensemen that it's like, doggone it, I don't want to send down one of these guys. Though they had to send Prosser down, unfortunately for him, down to the Houston Aeros. We're going to talk about them a little bit as well. He's kind of been up and down of late. The Wild have had significant injuries, like I mentioned. The Setaguchis, Zlatan Dres, guys like that. Yet here we are, still playing Zidlicki. There's another one. Here we are, still playing awesome. Fjapman and Scandella missed 4 games, but luckily he's been back. But no, this has just been a fun season. A team that responds to every challenge so far. Right now, man, I think the Wild could take just about anybody in a 7-game series. If the playoff were to start right now, I think they could take anybody in 7 games the way they've been playing. I really do. I mean, when you look at their schedules, you don't see 3 losses anywhere close to each other, much less 4. I mean, you have to lose 4 games to lose a series, right? So there aren't 4 losses anywhere near each other on the schedule. Though that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hang in there against Detroit or Vancouver or Dallas or Chicago in crunch time in May. But just maybe they will. Just maybe they will. I mean, if they continue to play anything like this, if they keep playing like this the rest of the year, who's to say? Who's to say this isn't a championship contender? And I cannot believe I'm saying this. I just can't. I just can't. And it's like, the roster, you look at the players, and it's like, yeah, a lot of these guys were probably better than the team was performing. You want to say that, but at the same time, the coach is unbelievable. Like I said, and like many other people have been saying, the guy knows exactly what buttons to push. I don't know how he just does it. He's just that good. Mike Yeo is that good. He knows what buttons to push with every player on this roster. I don't know how I have no idea how he's done it, but it's just been unbelievable. You saw what the Houston Aeros did last year. They went to the Calder Cup Championship. They went to Game 7 in his first year as the coach of the Houston Aeros. It's like, yeah, man. Yeah. It's remarkable. And Houston's having a pretty good year again this year, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that out there. But, man alive. Mike Yeo. I mean, it's a combination. It's balance. I mean, it's about time we got a coach on this team that brings that's about balance. You don't want to have a weakness. You just don't. You got to have that strong defense, but you also got to have the ability to put the puck in the net. The Wild's defense is better than their offense, but their offense is timely. And recently, they've been putting puck in the net a little bit more than before. You had 2-1 games, but we did beat Vancouver 5-1 early in November. We've had a lot of 2-1 games, though 3-0, 3-2 type games. But hey, you have those occasional 4 and 5 goal games for this club. I mean, the ability's absolutely there, and it's been there. I mean, we beat the New Jersey Devils 5-2, 4-2, Anaheim 5-3. Shows we can still win games that are crazy. The 4th of December, that game was crazy. An 8-goal game. When you combine the two teams. And we win a shootout with Anaheim, literally a shootout in Anaheim. Then we go to San Jose and win. We go to L.A. The Wild never win in L.A., and they won last Thursday. That was awesome. And most recently, they pretty much buried the Phoenix Coyotes, who finally scored a goal with 2 minutes left, and Wild win 4-1. That's what kind of season it's been for this team. They went on the road. They went at home. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Okay, like the Wild come off a victory, right? Friday night, the 2nd, we beat the New Jersey Devils. Well, we got a 4-game skid. We got a 4-game skid, excuse me, 4-game trip out west. Anaheim, San Jose, L.A., Phoenix. And you come back undefeated. Undefeated, folks. That's sick. Now, yeah, it's a 5-game trip. It's tomorrow night, the 13th. The Wild the Wild are hosted by the Winnipeg Jets for the first time this year. That's right, the Winnipeg Jets, who are temporarily going to be an Eastern Conference team, just for 1 year. They're soon going to be our division or conference, whatever the heck you want to call it, rival. The Wild play the Winnipeg Jets in, of course, Winnipeg, which is very close to Minnesota and North Dakota. We're playing them tomorrow night. And who's to say the Wild aren't going to win that game? Winnipeg Jets don't scare me or anybody else. And then there's the big one. You could call it the game of the year. The two best teams in the Western Conference and in all of hockey. And yes, it's going to be perfect timing, folks, for the Wild to return to a division or conference with the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah, it's a division, you could call it, really. It's going to be a division. They're calling it conferences right now, but I got to think they're going to call it a division eventually. The Chicago Blackhawks. What a perfect time to get that rivalry started. Perfect. Like, we're going to have some real hockey in Minnesota again, folks. And I'm wearing a North Star shirt right now. And how perfect is it to have the Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks leading the Western Conference right now. And now you got the big game Wednesday night in XL Energy Center. Minnesota and Chicago. The Wild come out of that one with a win. You got to think their conference is going to go even higher. That confidence is going to soar. Then you got the current division rivals, which are going to be awesome next week after we play New York Islanders on Saturday. You're going to have Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. That is going to be a blast. Colorado, Nashville, Edmonton again. I mean, wow. Who's to say the Wild aren't going to go out and win most of them? I'm not going to say all of them, but you beat Chicago. Who knows how many games this team is going to win? I mean, who knows what kind of win streak this team is going to go on? We all know this is December. Stanley Cups are not won in December. They're not won in January, February, March, or April, or even May. But this team clearly to date has been playing some remarkable hockey, and I can't imagine a team with this coach, with the way he's able to push the buttons, is going to go on a massive skid like they did under Todd Richards for 2 consecutive years, and like they even did at times under Jacques Lemaire. Yeah, I mean, you could. Mike Yeo is the real deal, folks. And it is an absolute pleasure to be covering this team, even though it's been sporadic, my coverage of the team by coming on the air here, and I do apologize for that. But to be following this team, covering it, reading about, debating, all that, it has been an absolute pleasure this year. The first 3 seasons under the Minnesota Wild, no playoff appearances, like I was talking about in episode number 50. And then I talked about at the end of episode 50, well, when Neil, Nate Dogg Thiesing and I were ending our part of the conversation and saying, well, who's going to be the 8th seed? I say the Minnesota Wild. Well, who was to say? Who would have thought they were going to be the number 1 seed? As of right now, they are. Will that continue? That's on the Wild. But what a season! What a season it has been! What a remarkable season it's been! I think it so much. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to get off general Wild conversation and get into realignment, and we're going to wrap up with the Houston Aeros roundup right after this. We are back here on Brave the Wild, episode number 51, which is a reminder for iPod users and also the Microsoft Zune and other MP3 players. Thank you again for joining me here on Brave the Wild. Again, available on the sportstuff.com and on iTunes. Do check out the Twitter and the Facebook pages. We'd appreciate it also very much. Twitter.com/Brave the Wild. And on Facebook, well, look up Brave the Wild, in the search bar. Look up Brave the Wild and Minnesota Wild. And make sure you go to the one that says company, not the Facebook group. Go to the one that's a Facebook page. So company, go to that and click the join button, or not join, but click the like button on the page. And go ahead and post and comment on there. We would appreciate that very much. But also you can reach me, twitter.com/Brave the Wild as mentioned. So, all right. Let's get the move on here. Let's get a move on anyway. Realignment. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting deal. So, yeah, they're doing right now what they call a 4-conference plan. Of course, there's going to be names. They're probably going to have geographical names, being the teams are kind of in geographical areas. But right now they're going with Conference A, Conference B, Conference C, and Conference D. It's creative stuff. Holy crap.
Holy crap, Batman!
Yeah, that's good times, huh? So, yeah, let's move on here. Conference A. Well, of course, Conference A, starting with the Anaheim Ducks. Wow. Oh, I just love those Anaheim Ducks, don't you? Yeah. Well, Anaheim Ducks, the Calgary Flames, Colorado Avalanche, Edmonton Oilers, Los Angeles Kings, Phoenix Coyotes, soon to be the Quebec Nordiques, I'm sure, and they'll probably move to Conference C or D. But I digress. San Jose Sharks and Vancouver Canucks. So all of our old rivals, current rivals in the Northwest Division. I'm kind of, I'm going to miss that a little bit. I am. I kind of got used to the Northwest Division, and it kind of warmed up a little bit. I kind of got attached to it a little bit. Edmonton and Calgary and stuff like that. But at least we're going to bring Winnipeg into our division, so that's cool. I kind of always thought Winnipeg would replace us over in that Northwest Division had they not done this radical realignment plan. I don't know why they're calling it conferences. I mean, what are they going to have, a super Western Conference, or what the hell? There's going to be the Campbell Conference and the Wales Conference? That'd be awesome. I think they should do that again. Make the Eastern Conference the Wales and the Western the Campbell. Let's get that thing going again. But Conference B, that's right, Conference B, that's the big one. All of our old rivals in the old Norris Division and the old Campbell Conference. Chicago Blackhawks, Columbus Blue Jackets. Boy, we had a lot of old memories of them, huh? Not. I think our new arch rival, if it isn't Chicago, it's the Dallas Stars. Yes. I don't think it's Vancouver anymore. I think that's kind of said and gone. About 2 or 3 years after that, really just 2 years after that big playoff series with Vancouver, a lot of those players got split up and left. The coach was fired. they're not our arch rival anymore. And there wasn't enough history between Minnesota and Vancouver to really call it a huge, massive rivalry. I think Chicago and Dallas, Detroit and St. Louis are the big ones, and they're all here, baby. So as mentioned, Chicago Blackhawks, Columbus Blue Jackets, Dallas Stars are going to be in our division. Oh my, that's going to be awesome. Detroit Red Wings, Minnesota Wild, Nashville Predators, St. Louis Blues, and Winnipeg Jets all will partake in Conference B. And that is going to be, there are going to be some budding rivalries there. Nashville, of course, the team that was formerly owned by current Wild owner Craig Leopold, who is, probably the best owner in town. Probably. He's kind of the Mark Cuban, I think, of the owners in this town without acting like Mark Cuban. He brings the Mark Cuban fandom, and he seems to be on the generous side versus the Mark Cuban antics that drive people crazy. So, Craig Leopold, you get quite frankly, Craig Leopold gets a gold star. Yep, that's something that I used on Purple Mafia quite frequently. The gold star. It seems to be like every week I give somebody a gold star, and this week it goes to Craig Leopold. This show, depending on how often I do Brave the Wild. I hope to do it more often, and I think I can. I think I can. So here we go to Super Conference. Now we switch Super Conferences. I'm going to call it that because I got to hope they're going to... how are you going to do the playoff bracket? You can't just do it with 4 conferences. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. I'm sorry, but I don't want, the Chicago Blackhawks and the Carolina Hurricanes in the conference finals against each other. I want Blackhawks and Wild, or Blackhawks and Anaheim, or whatever. Excuse me, Wild and Anaheim. I don't want to use the Blackhawks over us in that, but, I want the geographics to kind of fit together until you get to the championship. Though then again, in the old days, it was all jumbled up. You had Toronto and Montreal in the Norris division at one point in time. So it's a little weird. You even had Boston in our division, I think, at one point. So a little weird. That's how that rivalry was so big. But, yep, speaking of Boston, as we digress back to the topic at hand, Conference C, which is going to be some other name someday. Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, Florida Panthers. The improving Florida Panthers, who are the story in the Western Conference this year. In the East, in the Eastern Conference. In the West, it's the Wild. Montreal Canadiens, Ottawa Senators, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Toronto Maple Leafs will partake in Conference C. Conference D, Carolina Hurricanes, New Jersey Devils, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Washington Capitals will take place in Conference D. So there you go. There is your realignment. I like it and I don't like it. Right now I'm leaning towards I like it, I guess. 60% like it, 40% don't like it. I'm going to miss the Northwest Division a little bit. And being a second shift guy, I kind of actually was one of the few Minnesota Wild fans that enjoyed the games being on a little bit later. So that's a little bit of a slight disappointment for me in some ways. But the rivalries from the past being renewed, that's good. Though this isn't Chris Chelios, Dirk Graham, Ed Belfour, and guys like that anymore versus, Basil McRae and Chris Dahlquist and, Shane Churla. Those days are dead and gone, man. That's like 20 years ago. So it's going to be kind of hard to renew a rivalry like that until you get a little bit of stuff going on. But really, luck has it in terms that the Wild and the Blackhawks right now are peaking at the same time. So that could get that rivalry back. It could. The Wild are kind of like what the Blackhawks were, and the Blackhawks are kind of like what the North Stars were in a way. Like we're kind of a little bit more rough and toughish, and the Blackhawks are more kind of like the precision scoring team that the North Stars kind of were back in the day. Though really, I think both the Wild and the Blackhawks in the old days were kind of like what the Wild are now, with the emphasis on the Blackhawks being even more of a badass type team. But whatever. There's some similarities and a lot of differences. It's a different time, different age. These players are about 15 to 20 years younger. So you kind of have that going for you. Not all of them are 15 to 20 years younger, but a lot of them are. A lot of the main young guys are. So, you got that going for you. We'll see what happens. We'll see where the Phoenix Coyotes go. Are they going to be the Quebec Nordiques or the Quebec something or other, the Quebec Canadian Saints or something? I don't know. We'll find out what it is. So, looking forward to it, seeing how that turns out. What the playoff bracket will be, I've heard no real explanation of it yet. For those of you for those of you maybe that do have more knowledge on that, give me a call, 209-736-7877, 209-736-7877, or don't be afraid to post on the Facebook page. Again, remember, look up in the search bar Minnesota Wild Show. Type that in and look up the one that says company, and make sure it's the Facebook page, not the group. Facebook page, and comment on there. Would be nice. Twitter account as well. You could tweet me on there too. Brave the Wild. Twitter.com/Brave the Wild. All right, so let's kind of quietly move into the Houston Aeros check-in. We're going to check in on the Houston Aeros like we like to do every show. Well, because the prospects, we like to see how the prospects are doing. Jeff Tafe is one of the leading scorers. He's a current member of the Wild, believe it or not, and he has 2 points in 2 games. Jeff Tafe has been a factor. And we all remember who Jeff Tafe is. Well, those of us that care about Gopher hockey, and I'm one of them, they're also doing really good this year. So it's been a real payoff for Minnesota Wild hockey fans. Yeah, it's been wonderful for Minnesota hockey fans. It's been a great season. It really, really, really has. Wow. But yeah, Jeff Tafe, a member of the 2002 and 2003 national champion Minnesota Gophers. Excuse me, just the 2002, not 2003. But whatever. Member of the Wild, kind of up and down minor league guy, but he's playing with the Wild now and has 2 points. Good for him. Other than that, it's mostly career minor leaguers that are kind of leading the team in scoring right now. None of the major prospects are doing that spectacular at this point in time. Cody Almond with 7 points in 10 games. It's actually pretty efficient for a guy who's only played a few games. Drew Bagnall kind of in and out. Tyler Kuma, only 4 points in 27 games, though. He's more of a stay-at-home defenseman. That's kind of a check-in on those guys, really, overall. Cody Almond has been doing good, but he is hurt all the time. He's on the Wild now, and he's doing okay. That's the good news. He's actually doing okay right now. So there's something to look forward to. Cody Almond really not looked on as a major prospect, I don't think, at this point in time, but he still could kind of become that, if that makes sense. He's got 1 point in 5 games, not 7 games, 1 goal. So obviously he was looked on as a guy with some talent. He was a 5th round guy though, so it's like not in the draft. He wasn't necessarily looked on as a major prospect. 2007 draft overall there. We'll see how that goes. 140th pick overall in that draft. He's probably going to be an up and down guy. If he could stay healthy, though, maybe he could turn into something. Though as of right now, that has not been the case. A lot of reasons, his injuries. Mike Lundin had a 2-game stint to kind of get things going. Matt Cassian ultimately was ultimately put on waivers and then wind up on the Houston Oilers. Not really doing much. Only 1 goal in 14 games, and that's it. So he's kind of a prospect, but not a very good one. He's a prospect that didn't really become much of anything, unfortunately. And the Wild are kind of semi-bored with him at this point, you could kind of tell. Really the prospect that kind of turned the most heads in Houston at this point in time. I mean, it seems like in Houston there's just not much going on ever with the major prospects. There really never is. Ever. Really, the only times there really were was when there was the lockout, and you had Bouchard and Koivu pretty much kicking butt over there in Houston. And, Bouchard had played a few games at the Wild, but not many. Koivu had not played a game with the Wild yet, but they were on the Houston Oilers to develop and get better. That was a good thing. Like during the lockout, that was wise to send those guys to the Oilers so they could get some valuable playing time in a canceled season, and they did well. But that was really the most exciting year for the Houston Aeros. Heck, I remember them coming to town that year and playing a game, and I was at it. That was really fun, and they won. We got to see those young guys perform in Xcel Energy Center. A lot of them for the first time. That was fun. But no, to get to the point ultimately, which took way too long, Matt Hackett is the guy that's been turning the most heads in Houston. But now he's a member of the Wild. So there you go. 9-3 though, with a 2.11 goals against average. Pretty similar to, eerily similar to Josh Harding and Nicholas Backstrom thus far for the Minnesota Wild. It has been a very fun run for Matt Hackett. Matt Hackett is going to be one of the goalies of the future. Will he be teamed up with Josh Harding? Will he be the number one guy? Will he be teamed up with Nicholas Backstrom? Will the Wild trade one of the goalies? Well, guess what? Craig Leopold on Paul Allen last week pretty much said that's not going to happen. That was on last Friday. Pretty much not going to happen. You can never have too many goalies, especially during that great successful season with the Wild when he wasn't the owner yet, of course. Leopold, that is. The Wild went on that big playoff run because, well, when one goalie's hot and then he cools off, you can bring in the other one, and then he's hot, and you have a back-to-back combination. You can go a long way, even with the underdog team, which that Minnesota Wild team did until they hit a wall with another goalie named Chris Jaguar, who had a 4-game stretch of his life and then got shelled and never was the same goalie again. Got shelled in the Stanley Cup Finals, never was the same again. That was frustrating for the Wild to not, get past that stupid team, though. They may not have, though beating New Jersey would have been almost impossible, I think, even though Lemaire knew that team well. I don't know. It would have been fun to be in the finals, though, wouldn't it? But no, now we have 3 goalies that are very good. Clearly, Matt Hackett is going to be an NHL goalie, according to a lot of people. He'd been highly touted coming in, not necessarily to be the next superstar goalie, but a very good goalie. Josh Harding has really emerged this year, and Nicholas Backstrom has a lot of pedigree now. He's been one of the best goalies in the league for the past 5 years or so, and there's no doubt about that. So I don't think we're going to trade one of the goalies. But then again, the last time Craig Leopold went on the air and said we're not going to trade a guy, his name was Brent Burns, and within hours Brent Burns was traded. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. As of right now, of course, Brent Burns has not been traded. No other goalies have been traded. So it's been more than a few hours in that case. We'll see how that turns out, though. Yes, we will. I don't anticipate the Wild making a major trade unless it is for a guy by the name of Zach Parise, who will be on the Wild's radar coming into the offseason, according to pretty much anybody who knows hockey in this state. And sources on and off the record, all over the place, say that, that's pretty much the Wild's number one target going into free agency. Now we'll see what's going to happen. And all indications are Zach Parise will not ink an extension in New Jersey. And that could mean he could be coming here. He built a house in the Twin Cities not too long ago. That doesn't necessarily mean he's coming here. It means he liked it here, though. And, it does raise the possibility. So until then, we'll just have to wait and see. You add Zach Parise to this mix, and to the the future prospects coming in, the Zuckers, the just all these big time players that are coming in. Michael Granlund, Phillips, Coyle. Hey, if those guys can pan out, oh my God, does this team have a chance to be something? Oh my God. Until then, we're gonna have to just wait and see, though. Of course, we're going to be back before next season. We're going to try to be back as much as I can, or I will try to be back. There's a duo here, though. Would not be surprised. Don't be too surprised if Nate Dogg Thiesing does return to the airways with me, especially if and when the playoffs, if and when the Wild go on a playoff run, come April, May, and even June. Ultimately, we hope. I would like to have Nate Dogg Thiesing on here to talk some playoff hockey. I would like to have him on here to talk some regular season hockey. Perhaps the next show, maybe within a week, maybe within 2 weeks. I hope to be on here as often as I can. Maybe once a week. I would like that if I could get to a once a week thing, or once every other week. Maybe once a week, sometimes once every other week. It would be nice and have more of a kind of a detailed show in that sense. But as of right now, I'm enjoying this season, and I've had a lot of fun doing this show today, and I hope you guys had a lot of fun listening. This has been a really wonderful ride so far for the Minnesota Wild, and quite frankly, knock on wood, I hope it never ends. I hope this is the start of something very, very special for a very long time for Minnesota Wild and Minnesota hockey fans out there. Dover hockey included. I really hope so. And right now, all indications are this team is on the verge of being good for a long time. And they're better than we thought, earlier than we thought, much earlier than we thought, and much better than we thought. This has just been awesome. It really has. So thanks again, Mike Yo, Craig Leopold, and Chuck Fletcher. Things are looking on the up and up. So until next time, we're going to sign off from Brave the Wild. But before that, going to mention the contact details one more time. Not the Facebook or Twitter. I already talked about them enough, so I'm not going to overexpose that. TheSportStuff.com does have a message board. We'd like you to join that if you could. Simply go to the website, TheSportStuff.com, then click the button that says TSS Boards, then click Register, sign up for your street name, and get in there and try to pump up those hockey boards on there. Talk about the Wild, talk about whoever. Penguins, Wild, Blackhawks, anybody. Doesn't matter. You're more than welcome to get on there. Calgary Flames fans, Oilers, whatever. You're more than welcome on there. Do join. And there you go. Opine. And don't forget to call into the phone line, 209-736-7877. 209-736-7877. It is a voicemail. Do treat it as such. Mention you're calling in for Brave the Wild because it is a voicemail, as mentioned. And opine, question, comment, shout out, whatever. More than welcome to be on board. And there you go. So until next time, we are going to bid adieu and go Minnesota Wild. Go Mike Yo. Go hockey. Go Minnesota Wild. Take care, everybody.